Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video, but we're going to talk about video games. We're going to talk about Unity. We're going to talk about this crazy update to their terms of service that apparently Unity is going to charge per install of games that uses the Unity engine. This is pretty interesting stuff. This is very similar to kind of what's going on with Reddit right now, where they're like, hey, we're leaving too much money on the table, guys. We're leaving too much money on the table. We got to make sure we get every cent out of every user that we possibly can get. And the backlash is fierce. There are a ton of games, mobile games, console games that run on Unity. And so many developers are just absolutely livid. And now they've had to issue a clarification, but we're going to go through and try to bullet point what is going on here to the best of our understanding. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants. Guys, go out to clownfishtv.com, CFTV, for more objective video game news, pop culture news, all kinds of stuff out there. So this was announced a couple of days ago, that Unity is going to change its fee structure, and the backlash has been severe. I mean, it's awful. This is actually worse than the Wizards of the Coast OGL debacle, because I'm going to be honest, video games are a much bigger deal than tabletop. I mean, tabletop's no slouch, but video games are just absolutely massive. So this is coming from Ars Technica. If you were developing a Unity engine game on Monday, you did so with the general understanding that you wouldn't be charged additional royalties or fees beyond your subscription to the Unity editor software itself. If you were developing that same game on Tuesday, you were suddenly subject to shocking new terms that would impose charges of up to 20 cents per install starting next year after certain per game revenue and install thresholds were reached. This change led to a firestorm of understandable anger and recrimination across the game development community, but it has also led some to wonder how such a massive change is even legally possible. Can Unity just unilaterally alter the fee structure its developers were relying on, even for development projects that were started or complete under the completely different legal terms? So yeah, the answer depends on how you interpret it, and it seems to be yes, they have to issue some kind of clarification, which we're going to get to. But here's basically what's going on. It's a runtime fee per Wikipedia. On September 12th, Unity announced changes to its licensing model that will take effect from January 2024. Games using the engine will be subject to a runtime fee, calculated per installation and charged monthly. If they reach specific revenue and lifetime installation thresholds, Unity states that monetizing the runtime in this manner is required to allow creators to keep the ongoing financial gains from player engagement. They're leaving money on the table and they don't like it, just like Reddit. This change was considered to be contradictory to Unity's position as given by CEO John Riccitiello to be no royalties, no effing around as of 2015. That was 2015. Now we're in 2023 and everything's pay to play. Literally, it's pay to play. The new terms face criticism from game developers who have been using Unity for years, particularly regarding how the fee would be calculated and enforced, and the implications for demos, freemium games, and bundles distributed for certain charitable causes. So here's the update per Forbes, per Paul Tassi. The entire gaming industry unites against Unity's baffling pricing change. It takes a lot to unite all corners of the gaming industry, but Unity has done just that with an astonishingly bad change to the pricing for the use of its game engine, the biggest rival to Epic Games' Unreal Engine. Yeah, and now there will be another engine that will replace Unity, because once you destroy the trust in your community, you can't gain it back very easily. Ask Wizards of the Coast how that worked out for them. They made the announcement about the OGL and they wound up creating more competition for themselves because people were like, screw that. That's not how we're going to do it. That's not how we're going to do it. Unity announced that it would now be charging developers for use of the engine per install of their game. The stunning change freaked out countless indie developers, and many already announced their intention to switch platforms for in development or future releases. Absolutely. I would. I'd be like, we can't trust them. you know, you can't trust them. You're better off actually just building your own engine from scratch, having a house engine or something. I think Square, don't they? Well, they use Unreal sometimes, but I think they had like the Crystal engine or some crap like that they were using. Then you don't have to pay a third party. But so we went over what the initial bombshell was, that developers were going to be charged per installation of the game, per install. Unity rushed to try to clarify some of the most common questions this move raised, which Axios reports includes. Originally, the announcement said that every install would warrant a fee, meaning players could delete and reinstall a game multiple times to mess with developers. They have since said that it will only be charged on the initial installation, but that does not cover multiple platforms. This is not much better, guys. Like an install on both PC and Steam Deck. As for piracy, Unity says they have their own fraud protection tech that they say developers will just need to trust, so they're not getting charged for pirated copies. Demos of the game will not be charged a fee as long as they're not included with the full game. Well, there's that. Charity bundles, including games, will not be charged a fee, but the developer will have to inform Unity about the inclusion to make sure that actually happens. And good luck with them keeping track of all of this. Unity says that for games being offered on a subscription service like Game Pass, it would not be the developer being charged for the installs. It would be Microsoft who has to pay. Microsoft has not had any response to this, and it seems likely it had no idea this was supposed to be the case. Oopsie doopsie. Well, there go all your Game Pass titles, because Microsoft isn't going to pay it for everybody. Come on. Despite some clarifications, no one's celebrating this move. It feels deeply backwards, and there will likely remain a flood of developers who flee to another platform or Unreal or other engines in order to avoid this kind of install fee-based model that has arrived out of nowhere. Some are wondering if Unity, which has lost half its value in the last 5 years, will be able to survive in the long term if this is what they're resorting to in order to increase revenue. Again, see Reddit. See Reddit. This is exactly the same thing that's happening at Reddit. They're running out of money. They're like, well, we got a lot of freeloaders, so we'll chase the freeloaders off, and the people that stay, yeah, we're going to charge them more. And we'd be better off charging fewer people more money. There's additional controversy that some of the higher-ups at Unity sold stock days before this announcement went live, where internally it was known this decision was bound to be extremely controversial. Unity stock is down 5%. The problem is that even if Unity walked the entire policy back, and there's no indication they will, they're not going to. They're not going to. You can't walk this back. The fact is that it was concocted and released in the first place is a serious breach of trust, and is alone probably enough to get loads of developers not to continue using its engine, lest more future harmful decisions be made. We'll have to wait and see what a company like Microsoft has to say. Yeah, they'll be like, hey, we're going to have an engine you can use, but you're going to be stuck on Microsoft. Make your own shit. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's easy to use somebody else's engine to make a game, and we've got more fantastic indie video games now than we've ever had. Like, this is really, for indie gaming, for PCs, this is definitely a golden age. So many amazing titles, and Unity is to thank for a lot of them, you know. But if this is how they're going to play ball, you know, I mean, I'd take my ball and go home. That is just me. I'd be like, yeah, this is just like Wizards of the Coast all over again, but somehow worse. Somehow worse. I'm going to wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.